Development Fund for the financial year ended 31st December 2023. I'm Claudette Sindaza Jonga, together with our two sign language interpreters, that's Chola Kaumai and Jason Manda. So today, 3 witnesses will be appearing before the Committee on Local Accounts, and these are MBALA Municipal Council, Lupososhi Town Council, and lastly for today, Porokoso Town Council. Just about now, the committee is ready to receive MBALA Municipal Council. Good morning.
That is extended to you, to the extent that whatever you say before this committee, you are equally protected by the same Cap 12. However, if you willfully choose to mislead this committee, the same Cap 12 shall be used against you. It is our belief that we are going to have cordial interaction, and you are going to furnish this committee verifiable and factual information that will help this committee come up with a report that we shall present to the main house. With that said, once again, welcome. How is MBALA?
It's cold.
It's cold. I can see you are dressed to suit the weather. You can introduce yourself by giving us your name and your position individually, so that we know each other before we proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Good morning, members of the committee. Good morning, everyone. I'm Laura Yumba Munkanta, Town Clerk for MBALA Municipal Council. So, Chair, allow me to ask my members to introduce themselves.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Jeremiah Nguni. I'm the Director of Finance for MBALA Municipal Council.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members. I am Simpamba Solomon, Civil Engineer for MBALA Municipal Council, but I'm standing in for the Director Engineering.
Where is the Director, Town Clerk?
Chair, the Director applied for unpaid leave for 1 year, so he's out at the moment.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Mpembamoto Mpazi from MBALA Municipal Council and Department of Housing and Social Services. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of Parliament. My name is Mwewadi Bwesha, Director of Planning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of the committee, and good morning, permanent witnesses. My name is Francis Mukosha, Chief Internal Auditor, MBALA Municipal Council.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning, honorable members of the committee, and good morning, everyone. My name is Msonda Godfrida, Procurement Officer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning, members of the committee, and good morning, everyone. My name's Chiti Lombe. I'm the Group Accountant, MBALA Municipal Council.
Thank you. We can have now AG's office.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you very much. Good morning, honorable members of the committee. Good morning, Town Clerk and the team from MBALA. My name is Sira Nyirenda. I'm Director in charge of audits in the Office of the Auditor General in Northern Province. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, everyone. My name is Abednego Siluyele, Principal Auditor in the Office of the Auditor General in Kasam.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to the honorable members of your committee. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Nyalazi, Principal Auditor from Office of the Auditor General. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Lovinda Sinyani from the Planning and Research Directorate in the Office of the Auditor General. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, TC and your management team. My name is Mlenga Chama, coming from the Office of Accountant General, Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of the committee. Good morning, MBALA. My name is Achubia Davis, Assistant Director, Local Authorities Department, Ministry of Finance and National Planning Audit Division, and you are welcome.
Chairperson, good morning to you and the honorable members of the committee. MBALA Municipal Council, you are welcome to this session. I'm Kazinga Kennedy from Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. Good morning, everyone. My name is Naslili Lubasi, Senior Human Resources Management Officer from the Local Government Service Commission. Thank you.
We can now, Clerk's Office.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to you, Chair. Good morning to you, honorable members. And good morning to our permanent witnesses. Good morning to you, MBALA Municipal Council. You are most welcome. My name is Malama Mwape, and I'm in the office of the clerk. Thank you so much, Chair.
Happy Friday to you, Chair, and good morning, honorable members. Good morning, our permanent witnesses. Good morning to you too, Madam Munkanta and your team. Good morning. I am Chilimboy Elijah from the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly, and our witness here, welcome. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Sakire.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Secretariat, all our permanent witnesses, Town Clerk and your team from MBALA. Good morning. Kalobo Pavuma is my name. I represent the good people of Sakire constituency, Kitwe in the Copper Belt. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Kaumbwe.
Good morning, Chair, honorable colleagues, permanent witnesses, and MBALA, welcome to your committee on local government accounts. I'm Honorable Dr. Aaron Mwanza, Member of Parliament for Kaumbwe constituency in Betalke District of the Eastern Province. Thank you.
Thank you. Sevonga.
Chairperson, thank you very much, and good morning to you. Morning, permanent witnesses, MBALA Municipal Council, good morning. My name is Mulonda Darius, Member of Parliament for Siavonga constituency. Chairperson, I thank you.
Honorable Member for Dundumwezi.
Chair, thank you so very much, and good morning to you. Good morning, my colleagues, members of Parliament. Good morning, our Secretariat, Senior Counsel Chilimboy. Good morning. Good morning, our permanent witnesses. Mr. Senyani, how are you? Good morning, MBALA. My name is Honorable Dr. Singombe, here in Dundumwezi, Kalomo, Southern Province. Thank you so very much and welcome to your committee.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Singombe. Honorable Member for Mitete. Honorable Member for Mitete. Okay, is with us. Maybe he has just stepped out of his room. So, my name is Mishek Mutetwa Nyambose. I represent the wonderful people of Chasefu constituency in eastern part of Zambia, and I'm privileged to chair your committee. With that said, Town Clerk, I would like to ask you to take us through your report.
Thank you, Chair. Before I go to the main report,
sorry. I want to also relate to you some amendments that we have done to your report, starting from page 20. Page 20, pertaining to query number M, accounting irregularities and irregularities administration. That query has been rested up to page 22. So the entire query is rested. Then you go to page 26. The query appendix number 2.2, unspent funds, empowerment grants. this is for 2023, so we included 2023. And you note that this same query is repeated on page 27. So we expunge the one on page 27, which goes up to 28. That same query, that repetition is the one is cancelled. So the other one is on the same page 28, on the figures in the table. We have corrected the figures. Secondary school boarding and skills development bursaries amount received 2022 and 2023. The figure is now 9,854,245. I'm sure you already know about this. Then the other is on the column for expenditure as at 31st December 2023. That is next to amount received. The figure changes from 2.3. It now reads 1,701,978. So it's 1,701,978. Then also it affects the amount, the unspent amount. The unspent amount now changes to 8,152,627. Are we okay? We move to page 29. Page 29, unspent funds, administrative cost, which is 2.5, appendix 2.5. The table there, amount received changes now to 1,719,052. So it is 1,719,052. Expenditure as at 31st December 2023 changes also to 2,015,062. 2,015,062. Unspent amount changes also to 296,010 kwacha. 296,010. The other one is on page Mr. Nyenda, guide me, is page what? I've forgotten. That is all, isn't it? Yeah, that's all. Oh, the other one is on page 37. Secondary school, secondary boarding and skills development bursaries. The table there, allocated amount 2022-2023. The figure should change to 9,854,245. Then the last column there, which is expenditure as at 31st December 2023, it changes to 1,701,978. 1,701,978. Those are the amendments that we made when we were looking at the issues, preliminary issues. So if you have anything else, you are welcome and you can give us those amendments. Besides that, if you have any document, a paper that you feel that you had forgotten to present, or any addendum, you are free to submit it before we start. It becomes a problem when you want to bring out information that is not sitting with us. So as at now, before we go into the meeting, you are free to give us any submission.
Thank you so much, Chair. We take note of those amendments from your part. I also wish to present the additional addendum to what is not in the main report. So it's the smallest document that we have.
I hope you have enough copies.
Yes, we do.
No, please, we admit those amendments or additional information.
Thank you, Chair. I also draw your attention to page 11.
Page 11?
Yes, Chair. Under delayed completion of works, rehabilitation of 4.6 kilometers Chulungoma Road. So we go to the cause of the query. So I'll just read it so that we can make that correction. Management acknowledges, page 11. Yes. Yes, so Chair, it reads, management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that although the road formation commenced by grading using the newly procured grader, the delay in completing the project is attributed to, so that's why we need to correct, to the pieces of earth-moving equipment that were procured in phases due to other competing demands under CDF.
Is attributed to?
Pieces of earth-moving equipment that were procured in phases due to other competing demands under CDF.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll now go straight to reading the report.
Okay.
So starting with specific issues, paragraph 78, over expenditure, administrative cost, soft loans and empowerment grants. So the management response, cause of the query, Chair. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the balance on funding against expenditure represents programs that were ongoing and whose implementation extended beyond the 2023 financial year. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that a reconciliation of the performance of the brought forward and 2023 CDF activities as at 31st March 2025 was undertaken, and the results are shown in the table below. So, Chair, there we have a table which is talking about the grants, the loans, as well as the administrative cost. In this regard, the following were the actions taken on issues raised. Grants empowerment, that is 40%. Management wishes to report that the unfavorable balance emanates from the grants disbursement pattern under the 2022 CDF allocation, where disbursements were based on the budgeted grants allocation. In this regard, the Council disbursed the grants amounting to 1,910,000 against the budgeted allocation ceiling of 1,952,200 and not against the actual funding of 1,104,233.33. From the point of view of budgetary performance, the Council recorded a favorable variance of 32,143.45. However, if expenditure is weighed against the actual funding of the results in the adverse variance of 105,766.77. In this regard, the overall performance of the grants component of the 2022 and 2023 CDF allocations is adverse if the actual funding criteria is used. Under the loans, management wishes to report that the Council disbursed the loans within the budgeted and actual funding ceilings of the loans component. Administrative cost. Management wishes to report that the Council made the disbursements within the budgeted and actual funding ceilings of the administrative cost component. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to implement CDF programs and activities within the CDF component's budgeted allocations. We move to an approved allocation of funds. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the recommendation of approval was submitted before the PLGO on 16th August 2023. However, the approval for the variance delayed in the conveyance to be conveyanced to the Council. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council submitted the recommended variation for approval of the PLGOs on 16th August 2023 and received the approval for the variation through the conveyance notification dated 14th January 2025. We can refer to Appendix 2. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council would endeavor to seek the approval of the PLGO on the varied works of the project. We move to C. Delayed completion of works, construction of 1x2 CRB at Shisafwa Primary School. Cause of the query, Chair. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report the delay in completing the project is attributed to delayed approval to allocate additional funds to the project to have the identified defects corrected and complete the construction of the ablution block at the school. The action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council made an assessment of the cost of correcting the defects and completing the school's ablution block. In this regard, the assessment carried out showed that the project required 697,026 kwacha to have the stated works done by a new contractor, and the same was recommended to the PLGO for approval on 17th March 2025 of the CDFC at its meeting of 10th March 2025. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to have the project completed and handed over to the community that is expectant of receiving its services. We move to delayed completion of Kaluluzi Maternate Annex. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the Council lacked key personnel in the engineering department to adequately monitor, supervise construction works at the project site and handle general contract management responsibilities. The action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the contractor has since installed the geyser at the project site. And we can refer to Appendix 4. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to adequately monitor, supervise construction works at the project site and handle general contract management responsibilities now that the Department of Engineering Services has been beefed up with key personnel from the Local Government Service Commission. Chair, we move to questionable scope of works. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the Council lacked key personnel in the engineering department to adequately supervise construction works at the project site and handle general contract management responsibilities. Action taken. Management wishes to report that having received the request from the contractor to have the 50,000 kwacha to take the 50,000 kwacha to the preliminary and general items of the contract, the Council granted the request and the stated amount was allocated in the contract as such. The correspondences between the contractor and the Council over the matter could not be availed for audit purposes as the former head of engineering department resigned before the audit took place and did not hand over his office to the new engineering personnel. He resigned before the new officers reported to the council. So we have Appendix 5 speaking to that, Chair. Remedial measure, management that having received key staff in the Engineering Services Department from the Local Government Service Commission, the Council will endeavor to draw a bill of quantities for construction projects that adequately address all required aspects of the construction contracts. Chair, we move to failure to provide for septic tank and soakaway. Cause of the query, management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the drawn bill of quantities and scope of work took into consideration the already existing septic tank and soakaway at the clinic to which the maternity annex was to be connected. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the newly constructed maternity annex has since been connected to the existing septic tank and soakaway. So we have Appendix 6. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to draw the bill of quantities and scope of work that are realistic, which take into consideration all sanitation aspects of such facilities. Chair, we move to regular certification of works. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the local contractor that was engaged had little experience in construction works of such a magnitude, which led to delays in completing the works at the project site. Action taken. Management wishes to report that the Council made the contractor to have the remaining works completed. The visit to the school by management confirmed the completion of the remaining works of the project, and the said newly constructed 1x2 classroom block was in use. You can refer to Appendix 7. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to ensure timely completion of projects and hand them over to the community expectant of receiving their services. We move to delayed completion of 1x4 classroom block at Kakungu Day Secondary School. Cause of query, Chair. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the inexperience of the contractor and the absence of the key personnel in the Engineering Services Department greatly contributed to delays in completing the project's remaining works. Further, the auditor's conclusion of the occurrence of an overpayment was as a result of not availing them with the revised contract after the initial contract was terminated. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the project was allocated with additional funds amounting to 224,000. This followed a review of the works yet to be done after the contractor was paid a second payment amounting to 151,299.93, which made the project to remain with a balance of 105,308.59. The works have since been completed and the classroom block is now in use. This is appearing on Appendix 8. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to ensure that all estimations of costs on works are accurate to ensure timely completion and handover of projects to the community. Chair, allow me to move to delayed completion of 1x2 classroom block at Kakonde Primary School. The cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the inexperience of the local contractor was the cause of delays in completing the project's remaining works. Management wishes action taken. Management wishes to report that the contractor was engaged over the matter and the remaining consignment of 20 desks has since been delivered. Remedial measure, Chair. The school wanted to use them as class teachers' offices. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council, through its engineering department, advised the school authorities against using the rooms as class teachers' offices as they were not designed for such. In this regard, the contractor was made to install the shelves in the storerooms, which have since been done. So we have Appendix 10 speaking to that. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to ensure timely completion of community projects. Further, the Council will ensure that all works certified, major and minor, are completed before certification. We move to delayed completion of works, rehabilitation of 4.6 kilometer Chulungoma Road. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that although the road formation commenced by grading using the newly procured grader, the delay in completing the project is attributed to the pieces of earth-moving equipment that were procured in phases due to other competing demands under CDF. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the purchase of other remaining pieces of earth-moving equipment, which came towards the end of 2024, made the Council to start working on the road. In this regard, road formation has been done and the receding of rain will enable the Council to resume gravelling, which was halted when the rain intensified. So we have Appendix 11, Chair. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to timely complete the project to enable usage of it by the community. We move to failure to avail ownership documents for equipment and machinery that is under management of soft loans. Cause of the query, Chair. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that at the time of audit, the two successful loan applicants had not yet procured the stated equipment and machinery to be used in the implementation of their project. Action taken. Management wishes to report that the Council engaged the two successful loan applicants as a way of assessing their project's implementation status. One of the two, by the name of Mr. Monga Darius, the proprietor of the Hot Business Center, changed the scope of his project, which was establishing stone crushing and making of concrete blocks, to establishing a car washing facility. In this regard, the procured car washing equipment, citing that the amount he was paid was not sufficient to enable him acquire the needed stone crushing and block making machinery. The Council is in the process of recording the pieces of equipment in its assets register. The proprietor has since started repaying the loan. The other loanee, Mr. Chuma Sande, operating under Gemara Enterprises, plowed the loan in his existing block-making business as he could not procure block-making machines and a stone crusher, looking at the amount of money he was paid. He is yet to start repaying the loan. The Council has written to the loan repayment defaulters to encourage them to start repaying their loans. So we have Appendix 12 and 13 speaking to that, Chair. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will continue to encourage the loan beneficiaries to repay the loans. We move to questionable payment of loans, Chair. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that there were many factors that led to non-implementation of the projects for which loans were obtained by the successful loan beneficiaries. Most of them changed the scope of their projects as the amounts of loans extended to them were not adequate to implement the intended projects. This delayed implementation of their projects. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council has since engaged the cited loan beneficiaries during the monitoring programs that were instituted. Most of them had changed the scope of their project, citing insufficiency of the funds to embark on their projects as a major cause. In this regard, the Council embarked on massive sensitization, including conducting financial literacy sessions with a view of countering the challenges of implementing the projects and encouraging the loan beneficiaries to start paying back the loan. For instance, the Chipoteko Youth Multipurpose Cooperative Society had changed the scope of the project from fish farming to maize growing. The loan beneficiary wrote the Council indicating the change of the scope of the project and made commitment and time frame in which to repay the loan. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to undertake awareness campaigns among loan beneficiaries in order to register positive results with regards to implementation of their projects and loan repayments. We move to management of bursaries, secondary schools and skills development. 1. Questionable sponsoring of civil servants / public service workers' children. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the Ward Development Committee had received applications for CDF bursary sponsorship from members of the community and recommended the same to the CDFC for the award of the bursaries to the said beneficiaries. Further, the Council had no mechanism of subjecting such applicants to further scrutiny to assess the financial status of their parents and guardians. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council has since written the parents and guardians of the beneficiaries to pay back the funds. Further, management wishes to report that the Council has sternly warned the WDCs against recommending applicants who come from parents or guardians in gainful employment for the award of CDF bursaries and advising them that the facility is meant for vulnerable learners. So we have Appendix 14, Chair. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council has taken steps to make recovery of the sums of money involved from the two learners, guardians, and will educate the erring WDCs to desist from recommending learners who come from parents of guardians in gainful employment. Payments not supported by approved application forms. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the approved applications were not attached to the bursaries disbursement documentation to support the funds disbursed to the learning institution. Action taken. Management wishes to report that the Council attaches bursaries approval conveyance notifications stating approved learners that are to be awarded the CDF bursary sponsorships. Attaching individual application forms for successful bursary applicants would make the bunch of disbursement documents very bulky. Chair, we have Appendix 15. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to make the disbursements of bursaries that are adequately supported. Overpayment of boarding fees, Laura Girls Secondary School. Cause of the query, Chair. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the application for the award of the CDF secondary school bursary that came through was that of a learner in boarding school arrangement, and the learner's application was considered on that basis. Although the school is predominantly a day secondary school, a few number of learners are offered boarding house facilities by the school depending on the merit of the circumstance the learner finds herself in. Without informing the Council, the learner switched to becoming a day scholar. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council wrote the school to pay back the $3,000. And the remedial measure, Chair. management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to adhere to the provisions of the CDF Act when administering the CDF bursaries. We move to management of empowerment grants. Failure to maintain financial records. Cause of the query, Chair. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the Council experienced a very shaky beginning of the program and administering CDF empowerment grants. However, the situation has significantly improved. Action taken. Management wishes to report that the Council has embarked on conducting literacy programs, educating the grant beneficiaries on the type of records to maintain for their undertakings and how to keep or retain such documents, such records. We have Appendix 13. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will continue to undertake sensitization meetings and monitoring programs. Literacy training programs will also continue to be undertaken. This is to enable the grant beneficiaries maintain financial records for the activities they undertake. We move to non-operational cooperative, that is to Sekele Club. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the group had applied for 40,000 to establish a poultry farming business. However, the group received 10,000 kwacha, which was considered to be too little for the establishment of the intended poultry business. This made the group members lose interest and the group ended up being disbanded. The remaining 3 members went into village banking, whereby they lent each other the money to implement their activities separately. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council has since written the group members, informing them of the consequences of failing to account for the funds extended to the group, with the possibility of individual members not accessing any financial assistance in form of either CDF loans or grants. You have Appendix 17. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to blacklist groups or members in their individual capacities from accessing future CDF empowerment grants or loans when such groups or members have confirmed cases of misappropriating grants that have been extended to their clubs or associations. Failure to implement funded activities, Chair. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the 181 successful applicants for empowerment grants were unable to implement their projects according to their set out plans, as the funds disbursed to their cooperatives were less than what they had applied for, making it difficult to acquire assets that were to be used in implementing their intended project activities. The objective of the CDFC in approving less than what the cooperatives applied for was to have a bigger number of applicants access the grants. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that monitoring and inspection visits to the project sites were intensified to encourage the clubs to redefine their projects to match with the funds they had received. The Council has also instituted financial literacy training that is conducted before the funds are disbursed to their clubs to enable the recipients obtain some knowledge on how to manage the funds and the general management of the affairs of their cooperatives. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to discourage the CDFC from the tendency of reducing the amounts applied for by the cooperatives for them to successfully undertake their planned activities. Further, the Council will endeavor to conduct financial literacy training for the successful empowerment grants applicants to equip them with the knowledge of how to manage the affairs of their cooperatives. Chair, we move to failure to procure musical instruments, that is Boys Brigade Trinity Club. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that As earlier on reported, the group received 10,000 out of 40,000 that it applied for. The group was to procure musical instruments, and the amount that it received was not enough to do that upon receiving it. Action taken. Management wishes to report that the Boys Brigade did not immediately implement its project activities since 10,000 kwacha was not enough to procure musical instruments they intended to acquire. In this regard, it had to undertake an initiative of fundraising to raise additional funds. The Boys Brigade managed to procure 6 musical drums costing 16,200. The committee may refer to Appendix 18. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to continue lobbying and advising the CDFC to consider approving amounts applied for by the beneficiaries, which will reflect their project proposals, other than distributing the amounts that are less than what the groups apply for. We move to failure to procure a hammer mill, that is Ebenezer 1 multi-purpose. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that, as earlier on reported, the group received 11,856.55 out of 40,000 it applied for. The group was to procure a hammer mill, and amount it received was not enough to procure the equipment they needed for their project. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Ebenezer Club had to change the scope of their project to that of village banking. Further, management wishes to report that upon scrutinizing their village banking record book, it was noticed that the 11,856.55 that was received, it managed to grow it to 31,312 as at the beginning of March 2025. On 11th March 2025, the club paid out a total of 26,917, leaving a book balance of 4,300. The remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to continue lobbying and advising the CDFC to consider approving amounts recommended by the technical appraisal team, other than distributing the funds amounts less than what has been applied for. We move to failure to purchase hammer mill, that is Emmanuel Youth Club. Cause of the query, Chair. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the youth club changed the scope of their project to that of dealing in maize grain marketing. Due to poor planning, the club made a loss of 14,800. Action taken. Management wishes to report that after the maize grain business ordeal, the club was advised to review their investment status so as to come up with a viable business activity in which it was to invest its remaining funds, and it was urged to report to the Council on the new business it was to embark on. Further, the club was imparted with knowledge on how to maintain the financial records of its activities. Chair, we move to cross-cutting issues. Under Appendix 1, budget funding and expenditure. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the retained funds were as a result of funds withheld at source for the insurance of the CDF motor vehicle. Further, the balance on 2023 CDF funding against expenditure represents 2023 programs that were ongoing at the end of the year. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that a reconciliation of 2023 CDF performance was undertaken and the results are shown in the table below. So, Chair, we have the table there representing community projects, disaster projects, grants, loans, secondary school bursaries, skills bursaries, as well as administrative cost. Further, management wishes to report that the reconciled picture has taken into consideration the mopping of funds under the 2023 CDF allocation amounting to 16,060,472.21, out of which only 13,716,311.46 was remitted back to the local authority. In this regard, a total of 2,456,473.08, inclusive of the funds retained by the Ministry for purposes of obtaining insurance covers for CDF motor vehicle and earth-moving equipment, has not been remitted to the constituents as at 31st March 2025. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council is in the process of making another request to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to release the balance of the mopped funds to assist in smooth implementation of uncompleted CDF programs and activities planned under the 2023 CDF allocation. Chair, we move to Appendix 2, unspent funds. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the balance on funding against expenditure represents programs that were ongoing and whose implementation extended beyond the 2023 financial year. Action taken. Management wishes to report that a reconciliation of the 2022 and 2023 CDF performance was undertaken, and the results are shown in the table on the next page. So, Chair, we have the table, a reconciled table of community projects, disaster projects, grants, loans, bursaries, and administrative cost. Further, management wishes to report that most of the 2022 CDF programs and activities had continued to be implemented beyond the 31st December 2023. As discernible from the table above, a total of 15,327,568.05 had been spent as at 31st March 2025, demonstrating that the Council has continued to execute CDF programs under 2022 and 2023 CDF allocations beyond 31st December 2021. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will ensure that it completes the implementation of programs and activities planned under 2022 and 2023 CDF allocations. Chair, we move to unspent funds community projects. Cause of query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the balance on 2023 CDF funding against expenditure represents 2023 community projects that were ongoing as at the end of the year. Action taken. Management wishes to report that a reconciliation of the 2023 CDF performance on community projects was undertaken, and the results are shown in the table below. So we have the table there, Chair, of community projects. The reconciled position shown above shows that 12,125,052.32 was unspent as at 31st December 2023. The expenditure that the Council continued to incur under component during the period 1st January 2024 to 31st March 2025 amounting to 10,924,762.55, leaving a balance of 1,200,289.77. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the local authority will endeavor to expedite the process of implementing the projects to ensure that they are timely completed. Chair, we move to unspent funds. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the balance on 2023 CDF funding against expenditure represents 2023 empowerment grants that was ongoing at the end of the year. Action taken. Management wishes to report that a reconciliation of the 2023 CDF performance on community Chair.
Okay.
On empowerment grants was undertaken and the results are shown in the table below. So, Chair, we have the reconciled table on the grants. The reconciled position shown above shows that 21,208.25 was 21,208.25 was unspent as at 31st December 2023. The expenditure that the Council continued to incur under the component during the period 1st January 2024 to 31st March 2025 amounted to 20,000, leaving a balance of 1,208.25. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to expedite the process of disbursing the empowerment grants to the successful applicants by selecting the applicants and obtaining the approval of the PLGO well in advance prior to receiving the funds. So we move to, we're supposed to read this one. Okay. So, Chair, we move to Appendix 2.4, that is secondary body skills development, that is bursaries, taking into account the amendments that we made earlier. Cause of the query, Chair. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the balance on 2023 CDF funding against expenditure represents 2023 secondary boarding and skills development bursaries that were ongoing as at the end of the year. Action taken. Management wishes to report that a reconciliation of 2023 CDF performance on secondary boarding and skills development bursaries was undertaken and the results as shown in the table. The reconciled position shown above shows the 3,860,008.99 was unspent as at 31st December 2023. The expenditure that the Council continued to incur under the component during the period 1st January to 2024 to 31st March 2025 amounted to 852,286.70, leaving a balance of 3,007,722.29. As a result of the enhanced sensitization programs, there was a significant improvement in the absorption rate under the component from 4% that was recorded in 2022 to 28% in 2023. The two financial years recorded expenditure under the component amounting to 218,075 and 1,449,653 out of the received fund allocations of 4,883,000 and 5,357,661.99 respectively. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that in order to attract a good number of learners to apply for bursary sponsorships under CDF, the Council will continue to mount sensitization programs. Appendix 2.5, Chair. Unspent funds, administrative cost, with those amendments made. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the balance on 2023 CDF funding against expenditure represents 2023 administrative activities that were ongoing as at the end of the year. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that a reconciliation of the 2023 CDF performance on administrative costs was undertaken, and the results are shown in the table. So we have the table, Chair, there. The reconciled position shown above shows that 142,837.93 was unspent as at 31st December 2023. The expenditure that the Council continued to incur under the component during the period 1st January 2024 to 31st March 2025 amounted to 147,797.34, leaving a balance of 40 kwacha 59 in way. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to undertake the planned activities under the component upon receipt of the funds. Chair, we move to Appendix 3, 2022 Community Projects. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the above-mentioned projects were carried forward projects to 2023 from 2022. The same were not implemented in the 2022 financial year due to delayed funding in that year. Much of the funding under 2022 CDF allocation was received in the last half of that financial year, as observed by the auditors in the table under Appendix 2 of the auditor's findings on unspent funds. The stated factor, coupled with lengthy procurement processes, among others, made the local authority to carry forward the implementation of 33 community projects for 2022 to 2023 financial year. Action taken. Management wishes to report that the local authority has experienced tremendous improvement in the procurement processes following the decentralization of contract clearance from the Attorney General's office at the Ministry of Justice to the province. This has shortened project implementation time. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the local authority will endeavor to expedite project implementation processes as well as planning for the CDF activities. We move to Appendix 4, that is 2023 community projects. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the Council delayed the implementation of community projects due to the lengthy procurement processes of the projects to be undertaken. The above-mentioned projects were carried forward projects to 2024 from 2023. The same were not implemented in 2023 financial year due to delayed funding and lengthy procurement processes. Much of the funding under 2023 CDF allocation was received in the last half of that financial year, as observed by the auditors in the table under Appendix 2 of the auditor's findings. Action taken. Management wishes to report that going forward, the local authority has experienced tremendous improvement in the procurement processes following the decentralization of contract clearance from the Attorney General's office at the Ministry of Justice to the province. This has shortened project implementation time. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the local authority will endeavor to plan for the CDF activities well in advance without necessarily waiting until it is in receipt of funds, as way of countering the lengthy process of planning for the projects to be undertaken and obtaining the approvals of the Provincial Local Government Office. Chair, we move to Appendix 5, Youth, Women and Community Grants. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the high absorption rate on the component was attributed to the Council's early conduct of the process of selection of applicants for the empowerment grants and obtaining the provincial local government officers' approval to disburse the empowerment grants to the successful applicants prior to the receiving of the funds under the 2023 CDF allocation. Action taken, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council conducted the process of selecting the empowerment grants applicants and obtaining the approval of the POGO to disburse the empowerment grants to the successful applicants well in advance prior to receiving the funds under the 2023 CDF allocation. This assisted the Council to expedite the process of disbursing empowerment grants to the successful applicants when the funds under the 2023 CDF allocation were remitted to the CDF bank account. Further, management wishes to report that out of the 21,208 that remained and disbursed as of 31st December 2023, 20,000 was disbursed to MBALA Multipurpose Cooperative Society and Zombe Kolole Multipurpose Cooperative Society, who received 10,000 each on 2nd January 2024. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to expedite the process of disbursing the empowerment grants to the successful applicants by undertaking the process of selecting the applicants and obtaining the approval of the PLGO well in advance prior to receiving the funds. Chair, we move to Appendix 7, failure to account for funds. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the 8 successful applicants for empowerment grants were unable to implement their projects according to their set out plans, as the funds disbursed to their cooperatives were less than what they had applied for, making it difficult for them to acquire assets that were to be used in implementing their intended project activities. The objective of the CDFC in approving less than what the cooperatives applied for was to allow a bigger number of applicants access the grants. Action taken. Management wishes to report that a larger number of grants beneficiaries managed to utilize the reduced amounts they were paid. The Council has intensified the monitoring and inspection visits to the project sites to encourage the clubs to redefine their projects to match with the funds they had received. The Council has implemented a program of monitoring the activities being undertaken by the grants beneficiaries and assessing the financial records being maintained to assist in tracking the utilization of grants extended to them. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to discourage the CDFC from the tendency of reducing the amounts applied for by the cooperatives for them to successfully undertake their planned activities. Further, the Council will endeavor to conduct financial literacy training for the successful empowerment grants applicants to equip them with the knowledge of managing and accounting for activities of their respective cooperatives. Chair, we move to Appendix 8, that is soft loans. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the low absorption rate under the soft loans component was primarily due to delays in the bank in the process of selecting eligible loan beneficiaries. The delay by the bank consequently affected the timely granting of approvals of the recommended loan applicants by the provincial local government office. Action taken. Management wishes to report that a reconciliation of the 2022 and 2023 CDF loans component performance was undertaken, and the result as shown in the table below. Management further wishes to report that, as discernible from the table above, disbursement of loans to the successful applicants under 2022 and 2023 CDF allocations continued beyond 31st December 2023. Remedial measure. management wishes to report that the Council will continue to actively engage the bank to ensure timely selection and processing of loans for successful loan applicants. Further, management wishes to report that the Council is committed to promptly disbursing empowerment loans to successful applicants upon receiving the necessary approvals from the relevant approving authority. Chair, Appendix 9, failure to recover loans. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that the Council experienced a number of challenges in enforcing compliance among loan beneficiaries to repay loans they obtained despite mounting a number of sensitization programs. Action taken. Management wishes to report that the Council disbursed a total of 6,004,255 as at 10th April 2025. The interest to be earned accrued to the disbursed loans amount to 300,212.75, making the total recoverable amount to be 6,304,467.75. However, as at 10th April 2025, only 598,120 was settled by the loan beneficiaries, leaving a balance of 5,706,347.75. Further, management wishes to report that the Council has instituted vigorous sensitization campaigns advising the loan beneficiaries to start repaying the loans obtained as alluded to in the preceding sections of the memorandum. Remedial measure, Chair. Management wishes to report that the Council will continue with its programs of sensitizing the loan beneficiaries on the importance of repaying their loans and conducting the financial literacy programs among them. Chair, we move to Appendix 10, Secondary, Boarding and Skills Development Bursaries, with the amendments that were noted earlier. Cause of the query. Management acknowledges the auditor's findings and wishes to report that all learners that were sponsored under the 2023 CDF allocations to pursue secondary school education at boarding schools and those that were pursuing different skills development courses were yet to graduate as at 31st December 2023. Action taken. Management wishes to report that the Council is actively assessing the statuses of all learners in their respective schools and colleges in order to ascertain the progression of those obtaining CDF bursaries. In this regard, the Council recorded 15 pupils that completed their secondary school education, one from Lunte Girls Secondary School, who obtained secondary school bursary under 2022 CDF and graduated in 2023, while 14 completed their secondary school education from MBALA Boarding School in 2024. The 14 pupils from MBALA Boarding Secondary School obtained their bursaries under the 2023 CDF allocation. Further, 10 students who obtained skills development bursaries under 2022 and 2023 CDF allocations graduated from Lukasha Trades Training Institute in 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025, as some were pursuing programs that had short durations. Remedial measure. Management wishes to report that the Council will endeavor to continue to closely monitor progression of pupils and students to ensure that success is recorded among those it sponsors. In conclusion, Chair, and on behalf of MBALA Municipal Council Management, I wish to assure the committee that the Council will endeavor to follow the laid down procedures and regulations in the execution of the mandate in order to reduce on audit queries. That ends my report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Town Clerk. I want to thank you. You're a fast reader. If it was me, I was going to take up to 13 hours or maybe 15 hours. I've seen a report is quite massive. A lot of queries. I was seeing the auditor had to even take some sip of water there, because he was even tired following what is happening in MBALA. We want to thank you. I propose we break for tea, and we come back energized, and we have the question and answer interaction. Thank you very much. Your immunity is suspended for 10 minutes, and we come back then question and answer session.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on Parliament Television. Remember, also live on Parliament Radio and also on our Facebook page. And so that's MBALA Municipal Council making its submission before the Committee on Local Government Accounts. And the lady who was making the submission is actually MBALA Town Clerk, and she's Miss Laura Munkanta. And so the submission has been put before the committee, and after the break we expect members of the committee to ask questions or points of clarification to the delegation from MBALA. And that happens after the break. Just now we equally take a break, and we'll be back shortly.